Hey guys, it's me, Mario, and today we're going to continue Vipero, the Snake Man. Beast Quest Vipero, the Snake Man. Chapter 6, The Track of the Beast. How you guys doing today? Hope you guys are doing well. Here we go. Chapter 6, The Track of the Beast. A new dune had formed. Tom and Elena clambered up the side of it, their feet sinking into the sand at every step. From the top, with the help of the golden helmet, Tom could see a long way across the desert. But in all that vast expanse, there was no sign of Silver. "Silver! Where are you?" Elena called out, panic in her voice. "Silver!" A drawn-out whine from the storm made them turn and look down at the stallion. Storm flickered his head 3 times in the same direction, then whined again. Tom stared at him, puzzled. "He knows," Elena shouted. "Tom, the storm knows where Silver's buried." Together they skidded down the dune and fell to their knees, digging frantically. Tom plunged his hands into the sand, but could feel nothing except for burning heat. Then his scrambling fingers touched something rough. "He's here," he gasped. He and Elena dug in the same spot. At last they uncovered the top of Silver's head, his gray-white fur matted with sand. "Yes!" Elena punched the air in excitement. She and Tom scooped away more of the sand until they could drag the wolf out into the open. His body was limp. Fear stabbed at Tom's heart. Elena bent over her friend, using her scarf to wipe sand from his eyes and around his jaws. Suddenly, Silver let out a huge sneeze. He blinked and his tail began to wag slowly, beating on the sand. "He's alive!" Elena exclaimed, tears in her eyes. "He's going to be all right." The wolf staggered to his paws. Ad. There we go. He's going to be alright. The wolf staggered to his paws and gave himself a shake, scattering sand in all directions. Grinning with relief, Tom went back to his horse, unfastened the water skin, and gave both Silver and Storm a drink. Then he and Elena took a few sips. The skin was still half full. Over half full. But Tom didn't know how much further they had to go. He fastened the stopper firmly. "It's time we were on our way," he said. "Yes, but where?" Elena asked, staring around. The desert looked completely different after the sandstorm. All their tracks had been wiped out. Now Tom couldn't tell which direction they had come from or where they were supposed to go. He fetched Wizard Elderu's map from Storm's saddlebag. The glowing red line still pointed into the desert, towards the picture of the golden leg armor. But that wasn't much use when they didn't know where they were starting from. The sun was reappearing through the haze as the sand gradually settled. It was much lower now, and Tom didn't want to spend the night in the desert with Melville's evil beast lurking. They had to make a decision quickly. "I think we should head for the sun," Helena said, pointing. "We know it sets in the west." Tom consulted the map again. The picture of the leg armor was west of the town. Briefly, he hesitated. If he made a wrong decision now, it could mean the end of them all. Then he remembered Wizard Elderu hanging helplessly over the pit of tar. Tom knew he couldn't afford to be uncertain. He had to be brave and strong, or the good wizard would die. "Right," he said, folding the map and putting it back in the saddlebag. "Let's go." Leading Storm, he chose a route that wound between the sand dunes, heading as directly as he could towards the sun. The desert still throbbed with heat, and the hot wind hissed like a snake, whistling the sand around them. Tom was sweating inside his armor. Grains of sand had worked their way under the metal and into his clothes. Oh, excuse me. Itching unbearably. But he was determined not to lose hope. He would find the beast and defeat it, for the sake of Elderu and all Eventia. They had not been trudging through the sand for long when through the visor of the helmet, Tom spotted something ahead, disturbing the smooth surface of the desert. He quickened his pace until he stood over it. It was a wavy track running into the distance, as far as he could see. "It's beautiful," Helena said, crouching down to admire the patterns in the sand. What could have done it? What could have made it? Tom shook his head, puzzled. "It looks like the sort of track Sepron would make if he was slithering around in the sand, instead of swimming in the sea." Elena glanced up at him. Sepron would never come into the desert." "No," Tom agreed grimly. "But we know something else is here. Melville's beast." Elena glanced around worryingly. You think this is its tracks? Tom nodded. We should follow it. Elena rose to her feet again. Yes, the sooner we meet the beast, the better. Tom led the way. The track wound through the dunes until he began to wonder if it would ever end. He watched and listened carefully in case the beast should suddenly appear. But everything was silent. Gradually, he noticed that the desert was changing. Instead of endless sand dunes, rocks poked up out of the ground, here and there. A few scrawny plants grew in their shade. And now and again they passed a clump of spiny cacti. Ad. Towering over their heads. The track wound between the clumps ahead, heading for a jagged line of rocks not far away. I think we're getting close, Tom said quietly. Elena halted, glancing around worryingly. This place scares me, she whispered. I think we should leave Storm and Silver here and go on alone. Good idea, Tom replied. There was no point taking their animal friends into needless danger. He guided Storm and Silver into the shade cast by a rock. Then he gave them both a drink, tied the water skin to his belt, and beckoned to Elena. Come on. They followed the trek again, towards the line of rocks. From time to time, the wavy pattern disappeared, and as the ground became more rocky. But there was always enough sand for them to pick it up again. At last, Tom saw the track disappear between two rocks. He exchanged a glance with Elena. His whole body was prickling with tension. He knew the beast wasn't far away. He dropped to his knees and then to his stomach. I'm sure we're close now, he whispered to Elena. We must stay quiet and hidden. Awkward in his armor, he wriggled forward along the ground. Elena followed him. He edged his way to the rocks where the track disappeared, and peered down in front of him. In front of the ground. In front of him, the ground fell steeply into a valley, and there, sprawling on the sand below, was Melville's beast. Tom couldn't keep back a gasp of horror, and exchanged a glance with Elena. A hot breeze sprung up, whipping the sand into a tiny whirlwind and whispering a name into his ear. Vipero. And that was chapter 6. Yeah, almost lost my spot. Well, That was some read. Hope you guys like me changing the music. I usually play Medieval Market. But yeah, halfway through this book, I decided to change it for some reason, but I think this fits better. This fits better with this book. I'm just stretching. Well, I can't believe after this video is over, there's no more after that. Because I finished the Great Dragon book last week. Last Tuesday. So. Well, I hope you guys like, subscribe, and hit the bell if you guys are interested in more Beast Quest. I don't know what I'm going to do for another series that I'm going to do, but I will sometimes do another Great Dragon book every now and then, so if I come up with more dragons. But yeah, hope you guys like, subscribe, and hit the bell if you guys are interested in more reading of Beast Quest. I know. See you guys in the next video. Bye bye.